It's not all trauma, but I couldn't tell you how many dead people I've seen. My name's Pete Solomon. I was a paramedic with the Queensland Ambulance Service. I was medically retired in 2022 with complex PTSD. I had no idea. Well, I sort of knew I knew as much as anyone who had seen ambulance on the streets. That's all I knew. I knew basically what they did. When I got in, my mum actually, who was a matron of a hospital on the Gold Coast, she said, "Oh, it's going to be boring. You're just going to be a taxi driver." Well, that sort of turned out to be right sometimes, but not all the times. And it is a good job. You do help people. Sure, you might just be helping an old lady go to an eye doctor, but it's still value added, and we do save lives. When I moved to Texas, being a paramedic in a rural environment is different because it's such a small community. So you're treating patients that you know and interact with. If there's a bad outcome, you're dealing with their relatives that you see and know. And I went to a cardiac arrest in a house and couldn't revive the man, and the next day I had to go and get coffee from the coffee shop off his wife. So that's challenges in itself. In a rural paramedicine is completely different. Queensland Ambulance Service run a program called Peer Support, and they hold it up as a beacon of righteousness and say it's proven effective. And personally, I think it's lip service to tick a box so they can say that they're offering support service to people. I don't think the QS actually gives two shits about the paramedics on the ground. And the longer that you're in the job and the changing nature of the paramedics themselves, it's just churn and burn, they don't care. The longer you're in the service, the less you have to do with normal people, and you're involved with your friends in the ambulance, because the general public really have no concept of what we actually see and do. The average person, and I use my sister as an example, she's 5 years older than me, she's never seen a dead person. She has the worst thing that's ever happened to her is she had a minor car accident. She fell over and had to get some stitches, and those are big tragedies and major events in her life. People don't understand what we see and what we do, and I don't think the larger community understands what effect that has on us long term. When we get in the first tranche of university students coming through, you could see it was clearly evident. They wanted the lights and sirens on, they wanted to cannulate people, they wanted to do all this war intervention stuff that just didn't need to be done. And when you sat down with them and you told them that 75% of their work is going to people who don't need the ambulance, who are probably not as sick as they've been when they come to work with the flu, or it's just a run-of-the-mill, literally glorified taxi service to hospital. They think everything's lights and sirens and cardiac arrests, and they watch too much Baywatch, where they pull the drowned kid out of the swimming pool, pump on his chest a bit, he coughs and splutters, and then you all go and have ice cream. Like, it isn't like that. You pull the kid out of the pool, you do compressions and you do cardiac CPR, and then he shits himself and then he dies. And that's the end. That's real life. When you walk into a cafe, for example, you just find a table and sit down, yeah? So when I walk into a table, I find a table that's got a chair that I can sit at, have my back to the wall, so nobody can creep up behind me. Crowd avoidance, so not necessarily agoraphobia, which is fear of leaving the home, but avoiding places with lots of people, lots of noise. Like I went to Bathurst 2 weeks ago, and on the Sunday, the race day, when there was 150,000 people there, I'd had enough. Most people with PTSD find large crowds very confronting. Insomnia is very common. Alcoholism, I'm fortunate that I don't drink, but alcoholism that leads to severe depression, that leads to suicide, is common amongst people with severe PTSD. And it doesn't matter whether they're nurses, police, fireys, ambos, army. Trauma is trauma. It doesn't matter how you see it. It has the same effect on whatever industry you are exposed to. After Peter Beattie introduced the free ambulance, it got so busy that was unsustainable because you would just get flogged on night shift. So we went through all this roster reform, and there was a fair bit of resistance to that. But I went to a meeting at Southport Station where the then Assistant Commissioner David Eales and I can't remember who else stood up in front of us, and there was probably 150 ambos in the room at Southport Station, so pretty well packed in. And David Eales, the Assistant Commissioner, said the roster reform is going to happen. You are all just numbers on a pay sheet, and you're all replaceable. And if you don't like it, you can leave. So that has been senior management's attitude towards paramedics for the past 20 years. And that's the crux of the problem. They don't care. And it's only getting worse. When I joined the service, we all sat down. There was 42 people in my group, and the commissioner and the medical director were all in the auditorium, and this welcome to the Teal family, and this is the last job you'll ever have. And that was what it was like. You joined the ambulance service and you worked for 30 years. The life expectancy of a paramedic in Australia now is 4.5 or 4.75 years or something.